The biggest lie you have swallowed about loyalty is that it requires your absolute destruction. You have been psychologically conditioned to believe that your value as a man is measured by how much pain you can absorb for someone else's comfort. You think bleeding out makes you a hero. It just makes you a casualty. But there is a hidden psychological mechanism, one specific formula for boundary setting, that I am going to reveal at the very end of this video. Once you implement this single principle, it will permanently rewrite how society, and specifically the women in your life, respond to your presence. But before we get to that, we need to address the poison you drink every single day. Every time you shrink your ambitions to make a partner feel secure, you are not showing love. You are displaying cowardice. You cancel your focus blocks. You abandon your gym routines. You let your personal empires gather dust because someone demanded your immediate attention. You think this makes you a good man. You think this makes you irreplaceable. And this is exactly where the trap snaps shut on your neck. Human psychology does not reward unconditional availability. It punishes it. When you become a relentless utility provider for someone else's emotional regulation, you lose your status as an independent entity. You become an appliance, a refrigerator, a microwave. Nobody respects a microwave. They just expect it to work when they push the button, and the moment it stops working, they discard it. This is why the harder you try to please, the more invisible you become. But the alternative scares the living hell out of most guys. We need to radically redefine a dirty word: selfishness. Society has weaponized this word to keep you compliant. They tell you that prioritizing your sleep, your financial ascent, and your mental fortress is arrogant. They label you toxic the moment you stop being easily consumable. Let them. The kind of selfishness I am talking about is not malicious. It is not about stepping on other people's throats. It is about something far more vital. It is about the preservation of your core engine. You cannot pour water from a shattered glass. Strategic selfishness is the highest form of masculine self-respect. It means your internal compass dictates your schedule, not external guilt trips. It means you look at your life and say, my physical health is non-negotiable. My financial trajectory is off limits to your drama. My mental peace is a fortress, and you do not have the security clearance to breach it. Now pay attention, because this is where the dynamic completely flips. When you operate with this ruthless self-prioritization, a bizarre phenomenon occurs. The people who were draining you will initially throw tantrums. They will call you changed. They will say you do not care anymore. But beneath their vocal protests, a silent evolutionary trigger is tripped. They begin to look at you differently. Contempt evaporates. In its place, a raw, undeniable reverence begins to form. And here is the brutal psychological truth about that shift. No human being can harbor deep desire for someone they can easily control. Attraction requires friction. It requires a gap between what they want from you and what you are willing to freely give. When you stand like a monolith, unmoved by emotional manipulation, you signal high survival value. You communicate that you are a sovereign king of your own reality. You are no longer a background character in their movie. You are the director of your own blockbuster. Let us look at a real-world example of how this destroys men daily. Imagine two archetypes. We will call the first the accommodating boy. He meets a woman he desires. Instantly, his center of gravity shifts. He moves his hobbies to the back burner. He stops hanging out with his mentors. He texts back within 30 seconds of his phone buzzing. He thinks his hypervigilance proves his devotion. He thinks he is building a romantic foundation. But here is what is actually happening in the shadows. He is telegraphing an utter lack of internal purpose. He is screaming, without using words, that he has nothing better to do than wait for her validation. She senses this vacuum. It feels heavy to her. It feels suffocating. She starts pulling away, becoming distant, taking hours to reply. And what does the accommodating boy do? He panics. He tries harder. He gives more. He accelerates his own demise. Now contrast this with the sovereign man. The sovereign man is also interested, but his center of gravity is made of lead. It does not move. When she texts him during his deep work hours, the phone remains dark. He replies 3 hours later, not as a manipulative game, but because he was actually building his empire. When she suggests a date on a night he trains martial arts, he does not skip the gym. He offers an alternative day. He does not apologize for his schedule. And this is the exact moment he wins. She hits a wall, a boundary, a beautifully solid, unyielding boundary. Instead of feeling rejected, her subconscious mind registers immense respect. She realizes she has encountered a man who values himself more than he values her fleeting approval. She realizes she cannot consume him. Therefore, she must earn her place in his world. By protecting his time, he has instantly multiplied his perceived value. But most men never taste this level of respect. They are terrified of the word no. They view no as a relationship ender. In reality, a calm, unapologetic no is a relationship definer. It establishes the perimeter of your self-respect. If you cannot look a partner, a boss, or a family member in the eye and decline a request that compromises your mission, you are not a free man. You are an indentured servant to their expectations. And the cost of this servitude is massive. You pay for it with your unfulfilled potential. You pay for it with the quiet resentment that builds up in your chest. You smile and nod while a dark, bitter anger marinates in your gut. You become passive-aggressive. You lose your edge. Your biological drive literally plummets when you are in a chronic state of submission. You look in the mirror and see a diluted, washed-out version of the killer you were meant to be. Listen to me very carefully right now. Your primary mission on this earth is not to be liked. It is not to be a frictionless object gliding through life without upsetting anyone. Your mission is self-actualization. It is taking the raw clay of your genetic potential and forging it into a masterpiece of competence, power, and freedom. Anyone who demands you halt that process so they can feel more comfortable is an adversary to your destiny. That sounds extreme, but it is the undeniable reality. We are living in an era of unprecedented masculine decay. Men are being encouraged to be soft, malleable, and relentlessly apologetic. The culture wants you domestic and declawed. Why? Because a man with boundaries, a man who relies on his own internal validation, cannot be easily manipulated. He cannot be shamed into buying things he doesn't need or staying in relationships that bleed him dry. This brings us to the core mechanic of true boundary setting. Boundaries are not threats. They are not ultimatums you scream during an argument. If you have to raise your voice to enforce your boundaries, you have already lost frame. A real boundary is a silent, immovable consequence. It is a locked door, not a barking dog. You do not argue about your boundaries. You simply act upon them. You remove your presence, your resources, and your attention from anyone who crosses the line. And this is where the pain of growth enters the chat. When you start implementing this, you will lose people. Let me repeat that because it is crucial. You will lose people, and you must be willing to let them go. The friends who only liked you because you picked up the tab. The partners who only stayed because you tolerated their disrespect. The colleagues who relied on you doing their work. They will fall away like dead skin. This is not a loss. This is an immune system response. But what awaits you on the other side is glorious. You will be left with a circle of peers and partners who actually respect the architecture of your spine. You will interact with women who admire your unshakable nature. You will find that when you stop negotiating your self-worth, the world stops trying to shortchange you. You walk into a room and your energy precedes you. People can instinctively feel that you are not a man who can be trifled with. Let us dissect the psychology of the woman who encounters this man. She tests him. All women test. It is a biological imperative to probe a man's perimeter for weaknesses. She will create a microdrama. She will demand something unreasonable. She is subconsciously looking for the cracks in your armor. The accommodating boy fails the test by apologizing and bending. He thinks he is soothing her. He is actually disgusting her. But the sovereign man does something entirely different. He looks at the drama, refuses to engage emotionally, and calmly maintains his position. He says, "I understand you are upset, but I am not changing my plan." He does not get angry. He does not get defensive. He is a mountain observing a thunderstorm. The storm rages, but the mountain does not move. When the storm passes, she looks at the mountain with awe. She feels safe. Why? because a man who can protect his own boundaries against her emotions is a man who can protect her against the world. This is the paradox that breaks the matrix. By refusing to cater to her every whim, you actually provide her with the greatest psychological gift possible: the safety of a competent, immovable, masculine presence. She does not want to drive the car. She wants to know that you are driving the car and that you will not hand her the steering wheel just because she complains about the route. Your selfishness, your steadfast dedication to your own path, is the ultimate shelter. Now, you must audit your own life with brutal honesty. Where are you leaking energy? Who are you shrinking for? Is it a partner who rolls her eyes when you talk about your business goals? Is it a friend group that mocks your discipline because it highlights their laziness? You are the average of the boundaries you enforce. If your life is chaotic and unfulfilling, it is because you have left the gates to your mind wide open, and the barbarians have set up camp in your head. It is time to evict them. You start today by reclaiming 1 hour. Just 1 hour that is exclusively dedicated to your expansion. Maybe it is reading. Maybe it is lifting heavy iron. Maybe it is building a side hustle. During this hour, the world ceases to exist. Your phone goes on airplane mode. If someone knocks on the door, you do not answer. You train your nervous system to tolerate the anxiety of being temporarily unavailable. And here is the secret most guys never discover. That anxiety is the weakness leaving your body. Every time you successfully hold a boundary, you forge a new neural pathway. You build undeniable proof that you are the highest authority in your own life. This confidence cannot be faked. It cannot be bought. It is earned through the crucible of disappointing others in service of your own evolution. The boy fears being called selfish. The man embraces it. The boy wants everyone to think he is sweet. The man wants to look in the mirror and know he is solid. The boy negotiates his identity for access to intimacy. The man realizes that intimacy built on a fake identity is just a hostage situation. You have to decide right now which path you are walking. There is no middle ground. You are either the architect of your reality or you are a brick in someone else's building. Let me take you deeper into the mindset of absolute sovereignty. Imagine waking up and the only voice that dictates your self-worth is your own. You do not check your phone to see if you are loved today. You do not read the room to decide how you should behave. You operate from a core of heavy, dense, unshakable purpose. Your value is generated internally. You are a sun, not a moon. You emit light. You do not rely on reflecting someone else's light to exist. This level of autonomy terrifies the weak. But to the elite, to the truly high-value individuals you want in your circle, it is intoxicating. They recognize a peer. They see a man who is actively sculpting his destiny. They want to align with you, do business with you, and share their lives with you because you are not a parasite. You are a producer. And producers rule the earth while consumers beg for scraps. And this brings us back to the promise I made at the beginning. I told you there was a specific psychological mechanism, a hidden architecture of masculine boundaries that changes everything. It is the single most powerful principle of human dynamics. I call it the principle of unapologetic loss. Listen to this and let it burn into your brain. The person who is most willing to lose the relationship is the one who controls it. Let me say that again. Your power in any dynamic is directly proportional to your willingness to walk away from it. If you are terrified of losing her, losing the job, or losing the friend, you have zero leverage. You are operating from a deficit. You will compromise your soul to maintain the connection. But when you internalize the principle of unapologetic loss, you become bulletproof. You look at the relationship and say, I value this, I want this, but I do not need this to survive. My empire stands regardless of your presence in it. I am willing to lose you before I'm willing to lose myself. When you genuinely embody this, not as a bluff, but as a biological fact, your energy shifts. You stop grasping. You stop pleasing. You simply exist in your power. And that is the moment they become terrified of losing you. Because they realize they are dealing with a man who cannot be bought, manipulated, or guilt-tripped. A man who has crowned himself. A man who understands that true masculine self-respect is the only currency that actually matters in this world. You have a choice today. Continue bleeding out for people who will forget you the moment you are empty. Or build the wall, protect the engine, and become the sovereign man you were destined to be. The decision is yours.